Father Sergei Mikhailovich Solovyov, October 25, 1885 in Moscow, Russian Empire, March 2, 1942 in Kazan, USSR, was a Russian poet, religious philosopher and an Orthodox, later Greek Catholic, priest. Solovyov was a grandson of the historian Sergei Solovyov, a nephew of the poet and philosopher Vladimir Solovyov, second cousin of Alexander Blok, and a friend of Andrei Bely. Family. Born into the family of Mikhail Solovyov, who was the brother of the famous Russian philosopher Vladimir Solovyov, son of poet Polixena Solovyeva and novelist Vsevolod Solovyov. Solovyov was also a second cousin of the Russian poet Alexander Blok, with whom he was connected. In September 1912 in the Church of the Nativity of the Virgin in the Nedovrajanom village, Moscow province, he married Tatiana Alexeyevna Turgeneva. On August 25, 1913 his first daughter, Natalia, was born. In 1914, Mary, who died at the age of 5, and, on July 28, 1916 his third daughter was born, Olga. Tatiana Turgeneva was later fascinated by Marxism. She left her husband and remarried. Literary work. Solovyov studied at the Moscow private school Lev Polivanov. On January 16, 1903 both of Sergei Solovyov's parents died. In 1904 he entered into the verbal branch of the History and Philology department at Moscow State University, and in the autumn of 1907 he moved on to the classical branch of the same department, where he graduated with a first degree in the spring of 1911. Solovyov defended his work, comments to the idyll of Theocritus. Solovyov wrote poetry since childhood. In 1905 for the first time his poems and literary articles were published in the press. In 1907 his first book of poems was published, entitled Flowers and Incense. Solovyov wrote philosophical and theological works, which were translated in other languages. In 1916, he reissued the poem of his brother Vladimir Solovyov, anticipating the collection of biographical essays. The epigraph to his word, he puts the Croatian bishop Josip Juraj Strossmayer, Solovy Fanama Candida, Prac via Sancta Est. In 1926 he translated Konrad Wallenroda of Adam Mickiewicz to Russian language. In 1928 worked on the translation of the Aeneid of Virgil. The priestly ministry. In October 1913 Solovyov entered the second year of the Moscow Theological Academy in Sergiev Posad. Solovyov at this time was acquainted with Vasily Rozanov, Pavel Florensky and Vladimir Franzvichern. In 1915 he graduated from the Theological Academy, and on November 21, 1915 was ordained a deacon, and on February 2, 1916 a priest. Sergei Solovyov was early interested in Catholicism, to which undoubtedly influenced him his creativity. Uncle Vladimir Solovyov, who shortly before his death, joined the Catholic Church. This interest has also contributed to the Vladimir Abrikosov's conversion to Catholicism. After long and painful pursuit, Father Sergei Solovyov makes a decision that will never become a Catholic. What wrote in his letter to Natalia Wrangel-Levitsky from October 14, 1916. But then came the resolution. And you were right. I realized that I'll never be a Catholic. I saw clearly that I never want to change the sacred cause of unification of the churches. So impossible for me to pass the citizenship of the Pope. And I breathed freely feeding. And I saw clearly how everything dear to me in Catholicism faded would be for me if I broke with the Russian Church and the Vatican Office Podmanal Act of Accession. I'm so glad that I was clear. Of course, more than once tempted to get up in front of me. But it's better to rot in prison persecuted Orthodox priest than shine in the cardinal's purple. Of course, a Catholic I would open a wide path. But the path of Christ is narrow and regrettable. However, in 1920, when Catholic Church in Russia, especially the Russian Greek Catholic Church, was persecuted, Solovyov joined the community of Russian Catholics of the Eastern Rite, officially joined the Catholic Church in 1921. In 1922 he again returned to Orthodoxy, but in November 1923 finally reunited himself with the Catholic Church and became the head of the Moscow community of Greek Catholics. From 1924 Solovyov served in the Roman Catholic Church of the Immaculate Conception in the Little Georgia Street. In 1926, after the arrest of the Exarch Leonid Fyodorov, Father Sergei Solovyov was appointed Apostolic Administrator of Moscow by Catholic Bishop Pius Neve and Vice-Exarch for Catholic Synod of the Byzantine Rite. In 1928 visited Saratov, where he stayed in secret in the local Catholic Church. Arrest and detention. In the night from 15 to the 16th of February 1931, Sergei Solovyov was arrested along with a group of Greek Catholics, mostly Jewish women converted to Catholicism. Many of them later died in custody. The first of the victims was Victoria Burvassa. On August 18, by order of the board of the OGPU, Solovyov was sentenced to 10 years in labor camp, replacement with deportation to Kazakhstan. During the investigation, he became mentally ill, and in October for health reasons he was exempted from punishment and placed in a psychiatric hospital. On November 21, 1932 Solovyov was released, but more later he will again be admitted to the hospital. In 1941 Solovyov fled from Moscow Psychiatric Hospital and went to Kazan, where he died on March 2, 1942. He was buried at Arsko Cemetery, but his grave is not preserved. Works: Flowers and Incense, 1907. Gruifragium, 1908. April 1910. Princess Flower Garden, 1913. Italy, 1914. Returning to his father's house, 1916. Selected Poems, 1916. Theological and Critical Essays, Collection of Articles and Public Lectures, 1916. Goethe and Christianity, 1917. Unconscious and Conscious Intelligence Absurdity, 1922. Diary of Exile, 1922. Notes. A.V. Lavrov, Successor Kind, Sergei Solovyov, Soloviev ed.M. Memories. M. New Literary Review, 2003. N. Solovyov, Father Willed by Our Heritage, 1993. 27. Gaidenko P. Temptation, Holy Flesh. Sergei Solovyov and Russian Silver Age. Questions of Literature. July-August 1996. S. 72-127. Skripkina V.A. Sergei Solovyov. Spiritual Quest. The Evolution of Creativity. M. MGOU. 2004. http www. Toronto. CA, TSQ, 26, Soloviev 26. SHTML. http www. Kratov. Info, lib_sec, 18_s, SMA, RMOV _1990. HTM. http www. Visish2. Narad. Ru, Solovyev, Soloviev. HTM. http. Veselensky. Narad. Ru, Hister. HTM. http. Arizona. Lib. Rupa 2nd. Sologzu_s_m. http. Lusif Library. Ru, Index. php. Pid equals 3027.